people.
Well, not all states allow the death penalty, but it is still given out as a sentence, and that's around half of the states in the U.S. Attorney Dave Betras, he has all those stats. Some of them, they even allow for death by firing squad. This is very interesting.
It's very interesting.
Now, the death penalty, there's two phases, right?
Right. There's a guilt or innocence phase, okay, and then there's the death penalty phase. First, you have to determine the person to be guilty. Then you go to the death penalty phase. In the death penalty phase, they list aggravating circumstances and then mitigating circumstances, and anything could be a mitigating circumstance. The jury must conclude on the aggravating circumstances outweigh beyond a reasonable doubt the mitigating circumstances, and if so, all 12 jurors must concur on imposing the death penalty. The judge can overturn jurors, but very rarely do. Now, there's 27 states in the United States that have the death penalty. You got to include in there the federal government, the military, and American Samoa. 2 states have the death penalty, Oregon and Wyoming, but don't have anyone on death row. The state that has the most people on death row is California, but they have put a moratorium on death penalty, as Ohio has. Because the lethal injections, first of all, the pharmaceutical companies are refusing to sell it to state to do that. So states have gotten creative, and we've gotten a little barbaric. South Carolina did one earlier this year by firing squad. Just last week, Florida did it by lethal injection. So the ways that they're doing it now is by lethal injection, but there's been some problems with those. Electrocution, the gas chamber, nitrogen oxide, or in that way they put a mask on you, firing squad, and believe it or not, hanging.
Wow.
So, yeah.
The fact that that's allowed, I mean, that's hard to believe. But so tell me a little bit about this. Can you choose?
Some states allow the person to be executed to choose. Some states prescribe it. If you are put to death by the federal government, then they put you to death by the state you were found guilty in by that state's method. Okay, and so the last time the federal government did a execution was in February of 2021, I believe, or 2020. And then now President Trump, by executive order, has reinstituted the death penalty. So there are people on death row in the federal system. There are people in every state except for Wyoming and Oregon. There are people on death row. Some of the moratoriums have been put on it. This involves the 8th Amendment to the United States Constitution, which says there shall be no cruel and unusual punishment. And so where it ran into trouble was when they were using the lethal injection, sometimes it wasn't working. And so there was a prolonged agony of death. And so the Supreme Court said, you got to work that out. The Supreme Court came up with this dual system. First, you know, the guilt or innocence, and then the penalty phase. Back in, you know, the 1800s, you were guilty, very short appeals, and then they would go out and hang you. But you would think that we've evolved as a country by then. But these are the worst of the worst
crimes
cases. And so, but it has been statistically shown to execute a person in the United States cost $1 million more than keeping him in prison in life without parole.
Look at that. Wow. Well, thank you for breaking it all down. Very interesting.
Very morbid subject this morning.
Very, you know, and in Ohio, as we mentioned, all executions are on hold at the moment. All right, Attorney Dave Betras, thank you so much for joining us.